Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Dean Callan Show. I have an amazing show for you today. I have a couple of amazing guests in, and as you might have been able to tell, I look a little bit distracted. I've got the audio relaying back into me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce my guests right now, and I've got Joe. So as you know, if you've watched the show, Joe is a legendary wine enthusiast, expert, taster. And Joe, if you'd like to do an intro?
Yeah, basically, yes, so this is fourth of four shows. I know Dean through drinking in bars, because everyone knows that's where you find Dean most of the time. And cut a long story short, we came up with the idea of doing something a bit more winey. He said, because the knowledge that you bartenders have and people in the bar scene in this country and in London is incredible. But when it comes to wine, you're all eager to learn, but don't necessarily get the access. So through friends of mine at a competition I judged in South Africa, offered to give us some of the very, very best wines from that competition over the last 2 years. Out of thousands of wines picked, the very cream of the crop, so that we can talk to Dean, bring in another drink specialist, another wine specialist who we'll introduce you to in a minute, and talk about wine and talk about what makes certain wine from certain countries different, what's the difference between a Cabernet Sauvignon from one place or another, or what happens when the wines get older. Last week we had Ollie Smith on talking about white wine, and today we have the knackered mother herself, Helen McGinn from Saturday Kitchen, for those people who love watching the cookery shows on Saturday morning. And we have 4 South African Cabernet Sauvignons of very fine repute. So, Helen, I think is Helen up yet? I think it's just
Is Helen working?
Helen, can we hear you?
Am I here?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
Tell us a bit about
Hello.
yourself, Helen, and don't skimp on the novel either. I know you've just written a novel.
I don't
I
know.
have just written a novel.
Yeah, didn't you just write a book?
Yeah, I've actually just written another one.
Oh, a second
I've
one.
just, second one's out in August, which is very exciting. It's not about wine, but there's a lot of wine in it.
Ah, okay. Turns out my microphone wasn't on. How are we doing now? That sounds better. I was just only picking up on Dean's mic.
Have you basically just mined?
Helen, I know how prodigious you are. I know how hard you work. I know the hours you put into the industry and how long I've known you in the wine world. And you've got this Knackered Mother's Wine Club thing going. You're a journalist. You're a TV presenter. You're a mum. How do you do it?
Wine.
It works, doesn't it? Best medicine in the whole
Yeah,
world.
I'm basically literally powered by wine.
That's good to hear. There we go. Can you hear me? Is
And
my mic
gin.
working?
I don't know what's going on with you, man.
It's me. I'm just like this gremlin. Every time I come in.
Every time.
Okay, 1 2 1 2. Can I see?
I have to say, I've never known Joe be so quiet.
So, do I sound quiet to you, Helen? Yeah.
No, weirdly, you sound fine. You sound fine to me, but
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Right.
If I'm tapping the mic, nothing's happening. So, we've got an hour. It's fine. What's going on here? Rudder. Nice little kit.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
Yeah, we'll work it out. I mean, I'm just tapping the mic just to see if I'm getting any response on the levels. Anyway, if I shout loud enough, you can still hear me.
That's all
Dino's.
right. Let's introduce the wines.
Yeah,
we can hear you.
You can hear me, so it's all good. I'm loud enough. Helen, you've got 4 bottles of wine in front of you. I thought we started
I have,
with the
and
oldest one.
I am so excited about these wines. So basically, when you very kindly said, "Did I want to come and do this?" And you said the wines that were involved, it was like Christmas.
I mean, it's wonderful. I mean, the first one we're drinking, by the way, don't bother trying to look it up. It's only sold in a 1 day only a year auction in one auction in the middle of South Africa. So it's an absolutely rare as.
It's
rarer than rocking horse poo. It's like proper rare, and a very, very special drink. In fact, the first 2 come from Nederberg or Nederberg, and the Nederberg estate's been there for
That's one of these.
300 years, and it's a huge estate. It's a huge winery. It's a site of huge historical importance. It's made from Cape Malay architecture going back to the 1700s, and in fact, South African MasterChef is actually filmed in the buildings where we used to judge this wine competition. It's moved recently, but it's a real integral part of the whole Veritas Wine Show. And they make these wines, and they have an auction for charity. And every year, the best winemakers all over South Africa make something special and enter it, so that when you buy it at auction, it is genuinely something that you can't buy anywhere else. And we're starting off with one such drink. This is Vat D something Nederberg auction reserve. What's nice about it is it's ready to drink. It's 7 years old now. It's 2014, which was a very cool vintage. So I'm hoping this wine tastes maybe a little bit more European and slightly less Kenyan, I would say. But very exciting. They put all their best fruit in this wine. It's from a region called Paarl, which is named after these two huge granite rocks which look like pearls, hence Paarl. That's Afrikaans for pearl. This wine is made from vineyards in Paarl and vineyards in a place called Groenekloof in Darling, which is much, much cooler. It's where the blackcurranty deep fruit comes from. And the Paarl vineyards give this wonderful herby characteristic, I'm led to believe. So should we try some? Let's give it a crack.
All right, I'm really looking forward to trying some.
Give us a bottle, mate, and I'll pour you a glass.
I mean, I think the beauty of what we're doing as well tonight with these four wines is they're all Cabernet. So very often, you know, when you're doing a tasting like this, you're tasting all sorts of different things, but to just do four Cabernets of this standard in a row, I'm so excited.
It's such a treat, isn't it? I mean, who apart from me opens 4 bottles of Cabernet Sauvignon in one go? There we go.
All right.
Just lovely.
Now,
Can I just apologise for my glasses in advance? Dean, don't do what I do. I am the worst wine expert in the world, because the one thing you should do as a wine expert is hold your glass by the stem, and I use my IKEA stemless glasses for tasting.
Well, it doesn't bother me at all. The only time I've ever gotten offended when I was handed a glass was we were in a fancy restaurant in Italy, and they just gave us like
petrol station glasses.
How would I describe it? Like you know, this sort of glass.
Yeah.
They gave it to, but the wine was good. You know, so
the wine was good. And the most important thing is that when you're tasting wines like this, especially big reds like this, because you know they need some air to open up. So the reason why I love using these glasses is they've got a good swill on them. Like you can really get.
So Helen, have you chucked the goldfish in the sink while you do this? But spoken like a true knackered mother, Helen. Look, I'm the first person to support stemless glassware. This stick doesn't do a great deal. I mean, if we're being really serious about wine, it's nice to have a stem.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm thinking about all those people out there who drink wine on a maybe even a daily basis, and if you put them in a dishwasher, it makes perfect sense to use tumblers. People shouldn't feel ashamed, should they?
Also, there are just too many kids in our house. The breakages are dreadful. So we're going to stemless.
And they always break at the stem, right? I always used to keep them without the bottoms on, thinking maybe I can use them in the garden and just stick them in the lawn. Never comes round, does it? I just end up hurting myself when I'm looking for something in the cupboard. This smells amazing.
right.
Now, I think a moment of silence for a reverend wine like this. This won a double gold at the Veritas Award twice. It's from a vintage which I think was kind of written off a little bit, because it wasn't one of the ripest vintages. In South Africa, they were always looking for lots of extract and ripeness, and this was a vintage that had some cold, had lots of rain. But look, it's warm in South Africa when it's cold. Do you know what I mean? So this wine still has this wonderful, cozy smell.
It smells like it's giving me a hug.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's doing. So how do you describe this, Hal?
For me, I'm now sitting in an old leather armchair by a roaring fire. That's just simply how this wine makes me feel.
Yeah, it kind of smells. There's definite buckets and buckets of like blackcurrant fruit in here.
or mulberry fruit, but it also smells like an old book at the same time. It's got that. I love the smell of old books. That's that smell of paper, not kind of, you know, a house full of dogs. Do you know what I mean? But that smell when you go into a library, it's this.
Yeah.
It's almost herby, but not quite, isn't it? But it's You're 7
You can
years old.
tell
This is
also, what I do like about it is you can tell it comes from somewhere hot.
Yeah,
But
you can.
if you know what I mean, it has got that ripeness in there. But as you say, 14 was a tricky year. There was I think there was quite a lot of rain.
There was indeed. Not that it seemed to cause any problems here, but I imagine Niederberg's a big company that only a very small amount of their fruit was good enough for this.
I'm having a little sip.
Yeah.
It smells good. Have a chuck.
For me, the first thing I thought of was like, you know, blackberries and like kind of almost like rich red currants, like the skins had been squashed into, like when you muddle a drink, and then immediately after I thought it would taste really good with like a soft goat's cheese.
He's one of us now. We've converted him. Wow.
You're absolutely right though. That kind of that lovely deep fruit that hits you on the nose, and then you taste it, and that's when you're in the armchair.
I think blackberry's perfect because you get even the taste of those little dry, chewy pips.
I love the it's got fruitiness, but then but it's not a sweet fruitiness. It's like a fruitiness with enough of a wash of astringency that it gives you the fruit and then dries your mouth back out again.
That's it. It's never
like waves.
In countries like this for years. The problem was when they first started making wines in a kind of an international style, was that the risk of going beyond the line of jamminess. You know what I'm talking about, Helen, don't you? That sometimes if a wine even hints that it tastes like Hartley's jam with vodka in it, you've gone past. It's like The Price is Right. You can guess the price, but if you go over, gone, right? And this wine is so full of fruit, and it's got dusty, dry herbiness. It's been aged for 22 months in new French oak barrels, which is no cheap process. And you can still feel the lovely tooth-sapping chewiness of the wood. But it's all, 7 years on, it doesn't taste of wood, does it? It just tastes of dried fruits.
It hasn't got like it's not a woody astringency that I would expect from a Manfred whiskey.
I want a leg of lamb with mint sauce with this. Leg of lamb. Sunday roast. Bow.
I can't wait.
But I think that you're absolutely right, Dean. That is the thing. When people talk about oak in wine, the last thing you want to taste is oak. Like that's not the flavour.
That's not the point, is it? Yeah.
The point is to get the spice, and the warmth from it, and it just gives it extra. It's not an oaky taste. It shouldn't be an oaky taste.
Can I ask a question? Do winemakers use different? I know with spirits you've got French limousine oak, and that's like you get toasted white bread and a butteriness from it. But then if you go to Hungarian oak, for example, you get a lot more spice.
Yeah. If we start talking about oak, I'm going to give Joe a 2-minute limit because he can talk about this.
I could write for 2 hours about wine and wood.
We can put it on ice right away. I think
you're right.
One thing I realised in our haste to try to fix the audio levels, I didn't do our intro from our sponsors.
Oh!
And I thought to get us off the wood conversation, I might do that really quickly, which gives me a chance to double check his mic, and then we can come back and we can try the next one. Does that sound like a great idea?
That sounds like a plan.
So from our first sponsors, and thank you very much for the guys from Veritas for sponsoring this and making it all possible, sending us the wine. I'm going to play our little video from our sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely glad to introduce you to Vinventions. Vinventions is a leading wine closure producer worldwide. We operate facilities in Europe, in North and South America, in Asia, and in South Africa. Vinventions was created more than 20 years ago and is recognized as a true innovator in wine closures, especially through the creation of the Nomacor Green Line, a complete sustainable range of closures made of biopolymers from the sustainable cultivation of sugarcane. We are for many years in South Africa, where we have our own facility, we have our own team led by Johan Corradi, and where we enjoy successful growth of our Nomakor Green Line. And despite the current crisis, we will reinforce our presence in this very important wine country in 2021 by a new investment in a finishing line in our facility in Wellington. I wish you all a very nice Vertex conference. Thank you.
So that's our sponsor. Our sponsor is responsible for doing all of the background work. They supply chemicals, closures, bottles. In some cases, negotiate prices on oak for all the winemakers out in South Africa. And they're big business, and they're very important. And it's lovely for them to support the quality of the industry they're working in. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Us the wine as well.
Yeah, it's the wine. But you know, the question on oak, though, is what is really important to say about it is you're so right. It is like tucking into a spice rack when it comes to choosing your oak, because where it comes from, how much it's toasted or charred, will affect the taste of the wine. Yeah. So the possible combinations are kind of endless.
So to put it into just to take one example, basically we've got what we call in the business French oak and American oak. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean it's even from France or America.
I know, the same with whiskey.
Yeah, so the French oak could be Caucasian oak, it comes from old Russian forests. American oak could come from Spain. Yeah. The reason that their phrases and terminologies, which are limousine oak, Vosges, Allier, Trancé, they're all different types of density of wood, and they're picked because that's what they're seen to do. So the fine tuning of oak and how much air goes into the wine and how much flavour comes from the oak, as Helen says, is endless. Yeah. And what most people do in France, even the best producers, the most famous Bordeaux's like Château Lafite, is they leave this in the hands of their tonnellery, their barrel maker, because the barrel maker understands probably more about what they want than they do. And you find in new world countries, they go, I want some Trancé barrels, I want some limousine barrels, I want some 225 litre ones, I want some 500. Yeah. But they don't know what they're buying necessarily. And you only get maybe 20 goes in your entire life to get it right.
Oh, so they're getting kind of like
the expertise is
ones.
Yeah, well, for example, in these wines, the first wine we've tasted, which is an absolute showstopper, is made with brand new oak barrels. Now, you only get 2 oak barrels out of a tree, right? You get 2 oak barrels out of a 150-year-old tree. In the second wine, which is made at the same winery by the same winemaker the year after, it's not just new oak. They've used first new oak, and then oak that's had wine in once, and oak that's had wine in twice. So it's new first and second fill. And that gives a whole new tapestry of other flavours. Because the first one is spicy and vanilla-y and toffee and char and chocolate. And then when it goes in for the second time, you get like banana and butter and more caramel notes. And so again, it's just... I mean, completely forget about making wine. Once the wine is made, there's another billion things the guy can play with to make it work out the way it is.
Okay.
I did warn you.
Yeah, Helen,
I promise I'll stop now.
You're in charge of timeout for Joe, because I'm sat right next to him. I don't want him to swipe at me. So, Joe...
If you tell me off, I'll stop.
What's the next one? Are we on to the next one?
So this is the next one.
Spectacular.
So this is a very special reserve wine. It's, I mean, by South African terms, a very expensive wine. But what it delivers, I mean, if you were to put this in a blind tasting with the best wines from Australia or California or France, I think people will be surprised. But this is it's a 40 or 50 pound wine, even in South Africa. It's a phenomenal wine. Now, this wine is kind of like, that's like catwalk couture. And then from these special limited releases, they might come and go, oh, we'll release something like that, general release. And this is the general release example. It's called the Manor House. And this was made the year later. So this wine won't have had as much money thrown at it in oak, but it's from a year, 2015, which is considered to be a phenomenally good year. And they've used, I mean, by using first, second and third fill oak, it's a less expensive proposition. Yep. And they've managed to get the kind of heart of that wine into a wine that costs a fraction of the price. If you're in South Africa, you can buy this wine for less than a tenner in South Africa. You wait until you try it. It's crazy good.
But that's such a good description, Joe, because it's got something of that incredible first wine. Yeah. But just in a much simpler way. So it's not all the away as you go on, but it's still a completely joyous
So if this
wine.
was in whiskey terms, this would be the you know, the double wood or the 14-year-old.
This would be like
Caribbean
that's golden cask, that's Caribbean cask.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like that they've realised they hit magic, so they've gone, let's roll this out to a million casks, right?
Very cool.
Now the other thing is 2015 was a much riper year, it had fewer problems, super concentration of fruit, which kind of offsets the expensive stuff that was in the first wine. So they're both made by the same guy. Remembering his name very fast. Samuel Philoen is his name, and he's the red wine chief winemaker at Niederberg. But when you drink the first wine and you know it's 45 quid, I go, I'd expect it to be that expensive, wouldn't you, Helen? I mean, it tastes that kind of money.
Yeah, it's a very smart wine.
And then you try the next one, which got the same score in the competition.
It smells different, but I think it's gone darker. I'm getting like it's as if the fruits had stewed a little bit, and there's a bit of black pepper.
100%.
Yeah.
There's
Also,
much
it all
more
happens-
sappiness.
Yeah, it all happens up front with this one.
Yeah.
You know, so with that first one, you've got the fruit, and then there's loads of stuff that happens afterwards. But this is just it's just a simpler take. So you get lots of that lovely same fruit. And it's not as complicated it's not as complex afterwards, but that takes nothing away from the wine. It's
Isn't
That's
that sick?
really
I mean,
really nice.
Helen's absolutely right with what she says. I would say if you taste these wines and you didn't know what they were beforehand, and I didn't tell you about anything, I'm inclined to say the second wine is possibly the winner in a normal judging competition environment, because there's less oak, the fruit is more prevalent, the fruit's more up front, you've got more natural sappy tannin from the fruit, the wood doesn't get in the way. It's got the advantage of having more ripeness from the vintage. It's an absolute banger. I mean, it's the fruit in that wine, crazy.
Yeah, hilariously, I looked at the label on this one.
Yeah.
And I thought on the Manor House, the second one, I looked at the label and I thought, you know what, I've been there.
You probably have.
But I couldn't quite remember it, so I had to call a friend of mine who Joe knows in the wine trade. I had to call Robin and say, I've never been there. And he said, yes, you have, Helen. I mean, it was 15 years ago. So,
You were probably were you at the Niederberg auctions with Robin Costick or something?
Yes!
Is there like a small circle of wine experts that just travel around the world drinking expensive wine?
It's a very flat pyramid, Dean. Now, amazing. So that place. So when we finished judging at the Veritas Awards, they've moved sites now. But I was there 2 years ago. It was the last time they were at Niederberg after 35 plus years, and we would sit in the Manor House and have a roast lunch with some prawns and some smoked salmon. We were allowed to pick any of the Niederberg wines to taste, and you're sitting in this incredible 300-year-old Cape Malay Manor House, and it just drives home how un-New World South Africa really is. It's old world, isn't it? It's old world.
You're so right. You're so
This
right.
is less lamb and more steak.
Do you know what? He's getting it. He's nailing it now, right?
Steaky mixed steak.
We don't need to be on the next show. He's going to do it all by himself, because because what you just said was 100% right.
But the thing
That needs something bloody and juicy and sweet.
Yeah, burger!
you guys having been there,
Dip and
being
flip.
able to tell the story of like this is the same winemaker and this is why they do it. Like interesting tidbits, like that's the fancy one that you have on a special occasion, and this is the one that you drink on your week to week.
Yeah.
If you like that flavor profile, like knowing that now, that's epic.
Yeah.
I can go onto the app.
Yeah.
And
So
order this one.
this wine,
I'd be able to afford to drink it, but I'm going to love that.
perhaps there's a 2018 or 2019 available in this country from Niederberg. I mean, they do concentrate on selling into restaurants and hotels, so you don't see Niederberg often in high street retailers. But this wine would be under £20.
I've got to connect.
It's 15, 16 quid. And if you have one nice bottle of wine a week with your Sunday roast and it's that good, everyone's a winner, right?
Lovely.
I prefer this one still, but I think the reason is that one of the things I loved about that was the balance of the mouthfeel, and the astringency on this is less balanced and it creeped up a little bit more. Could be compounding.
The other reason why you like that is because you're not a cheap date, Dean. That's why. You've done some pretty smart stuff in your life.
I've consumed. So I have this theory, right? Obviously there's no way I could possibly gauge how much my liver has processed. but having drunk, like, one day I woke up and before noon I'd consumed 4 different 50-year-old plus whiskies up in Scotland, right? So, and you know, a measure of that is a couple of grand. So you're already before lunchtime, your liver has just gained 10 grand worth of value. But the amount I've been to 83 different countries or something like that, traveled all around the world drinking. Can you imagine what if everything that went through your liver was accredited for how much it would actually cost on the high street, and also gained, like, so for example, if you drank this wine today, your liver would gain value with as that goes up in value, and it stops at the peak. It'd be amazing if you could quantify that.
Maybe you know how there's this thing in London where people want to eat the most expensive thing and they're super luxury. So that's going to happen is you're going to have a list, and you can go in the Sunday Times. There'll be a list of famous people's liver and what they've drunk in their life, and you go, I'm going to have that with some Sauterne next week.
But as Joe will tell you, if we did do that, I would still be pretty cheap.
Oh, Helen. Oh, there'd be a lot of Prosecco. There'd be a lot of Prosecco, I know that.
A lot of Prosecco.
Lager made from grapes. No.
I'd say mine would be up there, just on the quantity and volume. And
dude, I mean, whiskey. I mean, that's
spirits and stuff.
That's compact and expensive. I like what it's like every time you sip 1,000, sip 2,000, sip 3,000.
This is amazing.
So what's lovely here is I try. Sorry,
Dean,
Helen.
can I just say, Dean's your descriptions about wine and what you're tasting are fantastic. Given that you say you're more a spirits man, you describe them beautifully. Because it is very often about mouth feel. It's about the texture, and you do that.
Well, I taste things for a living a little bit. Like, so I've got this bar in my back garden, but I make cocktails and I drink. The one thing I try not to do is learn about wine and terroir. I've got a friend who's deeply passionate about wine, and he has he's bought me and is still paying for 4 years on a decanter subscription, so that I'm reminded every month to learn about wine. and we showed on one of the previous shows, he bought me a book that's like Big Macs and Burgundy, wine pairings for the average person.
I've got to have a copy of that book. It's so good.
But one of the things that my brain does, like, for example, if I see a whiskey and it's 39% ABV, because my brain knows that most whiskey in general starts at 40%, and if you water it down under 40%, it can't be called Scotch, it can't be called bourbon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My brain immediately writes it off. It could be delicious, but because of my knowledge, I've got a preconception of what something's going to taste like. Same thing for cocktails. If I read a cocktail on a menu, my brain automatically decides, well, the gin's going to be more than the Fernet Branca, and the Angostura Bitters is going to be much less than this. And why have they got Angostura Bitters and Fernet? And it could be the flip. But actually, I've already got a preconception of what the drink's going to taste like. And I don't want that with wine, because then I can just drink it and enjoy it.
I can see that.
That's the beauty of you guys coming and dropping, like, okay, this is really good stuff.
I mean, hell, isn't it refreshing? I love watching Dean drink things he's not drunk before. That palpable, inquisitive look of discovery, which I feel every time. Every time Dean gives me a whiskey from his back bar I've not tried before, I'm like, it's like I've drunk whiskey for the first time. And Dean has that same love for that experience of new, and
really
wine is so multifaceted. I don't think we'll ever get bored, will we?
Well, that when you go to a bar, Dean, I quite like the idea that your wife rolls her eyes when you get the cocktail list, because you'll spend too long over it. Because I get the same when we go to a restaurant. Ross, my husband, will give me the wine list and say, right, you've got 5 minutes max, and then that's it.
Honestly, my wife is a successful lawyer in the city, so when we go out for dinner, and they pass me the bill.
No.
This is.
Are you like?
This
isn't mine.
I live in a patriarchy here. Like, I'm not the head of the family at all. Like, I don't really pretend to. I'm quite happy being the taking care of her and being the happy guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do that a lot. The good thing is though, Electra knows as many bartenders in London as I do.
So they look after
when she
her.
walks into a cocktail bar, they know her. And in some of the great bars of London, especially when she had a bit more time, when she was taking people that she works in corporate law, when she was taking big clients out, and they're going to like the Savoy, and everyone knows her. Oh, hello, Electra. You know, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Really nice.
It's a nice touch.
So the biggest fear of any bartender in London is having Electra come to the bar and go, I didn't like that very much. I'll have to have a word with my husband.
No, it's with her. It's with her.
Actually,
She's got a
she
better
sounds
palate than I do.
completely.
Oh, wow, cool.
She sounds fabulous.
She's an amazing woman by all accounts. So
amazing.
Yeah.
what I've tried to do with these 4 wines is try and cover as many bases as possible in 4 wines.
Right, next
So
one.
we've got these 2. First of all, we're drinking wines of different ages, so they're getting younger each time. So hopefully Dean will see this progression towards more primary fruits, the disassociation. When a wine is first made, it's like a suitcase full of parts. You taste the oak, you taste the fruits, you taste, it's like bits and bobs. And as it gets older, it's almost like pixies have got up in the middle of the night and built this beautiful Louboutin shoe out of everything, right? And so we start with the first one, which is the real deal. And wow, what a drink that is. I mean, truly magnificent Cabernet, Cru Classé Bordeaux quality, a beautiful drink. And then we've gone to the 15, which I've announced is less expensive to make, but you can see that it's younger. But those 2 wines are made in a region called Parle, which is a much warmer, slightly larger area to the other 2 wines we're going to taste. And Parle is considered quite a warm area, and other grape varieties like Shiraz do really well in Parle. The real sweet spot, and this is just perception at the moment, because there are so many great wines in South Africa, but the real sweet spot for Cabernet is these 2, which is Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch has been making wonderful world-class Cabernet for well over 100 years. And we've got 2 wines here. One from the first one, Alto, which is from the southern half of Stellenbosch. And when we've got Neil Ellis Cab, Yonkers Hook Cab from the northern half of Stellenbosch, to show that even within the range of Stellenbosch, there are 2 very distinct styles of wine. Okay, so that's why I've chosen these. These are both younger than those 2, but they're both the same age.
Okay.
2016 was a beastly hot year, very, very warm year. There was quite a lot of drought. But we're talking about 2 of the best winemakers in the whole of South Africa here. This is Berto van der Westhuizen, and this is Warren Ellis, which is Neil Ellis' son. Guess what? I picked these wines completely randomly. All 4 of these wines are made by winemakers who were in the same class at the same time. Can you believe that?
No way.
Out of
That's
6,000
weird.
wines, I picked 4 wines, and Berto, Warren, and Samuel were all in the same class at Stellenbosch University
And
together.
he's not joking about he didn't do that on purpose. He got the email in here
Today?
and then told me about it today.
It's completely.
Pretty crazy.
So this is a magical era. In fact, Berto, who makes Alto's always been quite good value wine for Stellenbosch. Most of the premium Stellenbosch Cabernets are more expensive than this, but he's done such a good job that one of the big companies of South African wine called Distel has just bought this winery.
Okay.
So hopefully he's made a few bob out of it. I hope he has, because he's tirelessly worked at a small family estate, and now it's being kind of touted to the top restaurants around the world, which is really exciting.
He can
Yeah.
sit back a little bit.
He can kick back a little bit, but Berto, he's like 7 foot something. He's got hands bigger than my
When
face.
you do that,
I'm not a short guy. I know I'm a big guy.
the people that can't see, he's like 6'5".
Yeah, I'm 6'4". Okay, so I'm 6'4", and I look up to Berto when he goes, "All right, so Joe, are you ready to judge today?" And I'm going, he's like the BFG. He's a giant. Anyway, so this is Alto, maybe one of the great secret values of Stellenbosch. Over there, again, a wine that's perennially under £10. Now Distel bought it, I'm sure that's going to go up. So now let's try this. So this is a slightly different region. What we're going to find from Stellenbosch is that they have soils which are so magically suited to this Cabernet Sauvignon, this grape variety, that they have there's this palpable sense of they're more refined, you know. They're less chunky and rustic. So this is Alto 2016.
So I'm just trying to keep the wine up so that if people are joining, because people might sign in for 5 minutes and then leave.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and the Alto guy, 7 foot tall monster guy.
Yeah, Berto van der
could
Vesthuizen.
just sign in, see that, and be like,
The guy, brew, nice one, brew. Joe, I'll give you a few. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but Berto is a lovely man and a very knowledgeable winemaker. So this immediately you smell it. It's very different, right?
Completely different. Yeah,
this is
it
the
is.
journey we've had, right?
That's right. And wines from these kind of flatter, slightly more shaler, lighter soils in Stellenbosch in the south, they always remind me. I sometimes don't. I find it a little bit difficult to notice it's Cabernet Sauvignon at all to start with. There's always got this lovely red fruit, brambly. It reminds me of South Australia Barossa Valley Cab, which is more
There's almost
red
something,
fruits, strawberry.
Yeah, also there's something violet about it. It's quite, quite liquid. The aroma is.
In a vintage which was hotter than the Sahara. It's amazing to have that wonderful floral top note.
The violet is so good.
Yeah.
Isn't that gorgeous? Oh man.
And again, I mean, it's amazing.
Lavender, which is the last thing you learned to smell. It was lavender.
No, it was violet.
Violet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's amazing to think that this is the same grape that we've been tasting, the two previous ones. So you still get that DNA, you still get that blackcurrant DNA. But
You're still getting the big shoulders and the structure.
Yeah, but a really different expression of it.
It's very Moorish. It's got lovely acidity. It's really tangy and
It's
Moorish.
also a bit more. It feels a bit more savoury.
Yeah, definitely. And
Like
that's
like
kind of
a
almost what
salt
I was trying to say, but you said it better.
It's full.
It is genuinely. There's more umami. It's almost there's a bit of a tomatoiness to it.
That's it. Yeah.
It's like sun-dried tomatoes. It's got it's got a wonderful savoury tang in the mouth, which will only make it mega with food, right? I mean, what would you eat with this, Helen?
For this one, what we've done so far, we've done the kind of lamb, we've done burgers. I think with this one, it's probably more kind of Middle Eastern tagine type.
I was going to say lamb moussaka, which isn't far off.
Yeah.
Or a kick-ass lasagna.
Yeah, just something with more lifted herbs and spices in there.
Maybe some dried thyme in there. Maybe some basil.
Yes. Yeah.
Some of those. It's delicious, isn't it? But also, this wine feels less. This comes out the wrong way. It's easier. It's less hard work. There is a beautiful balance. It's a very crushable, drinkable wine. I think I've finished this bottle much faster than the other two. The other two are kind of what the Italians call.
The other two
They're like vino de meditazione. You know, you sit down and go, and you ponder the first two wines because they're quite big wines.
That's what I was about to say. Like this would make an occasion gel. You're sitting with family and having a chat.
100%.
That one is
the occasion.
That's like,
well put.
Was there? I think you quoted someone that was like, I only open special bottles of wine. When
Yeah, it was in the film Sideways when he says, "You've got a bottle of 61 Cheval Blanc," and he said, "Why have you got that?" He said, "Well, I'm waiting for the occasion to drink it." She said, "Opening Cheval Blanc 61 is an occasion. You can open it any time." And that first wine is a true masterpiece. I think this wine would, as you said, catalyze conversation around a table. It wouldn't talk over the conversation. It wouldn't become the topic of conversation necessarily. But everyone would go, "Oh, that wine was delicious, man."
Yeah, really good.
It's the silent killer. Like, you just enjoy it, and then when it runs out, everyone's grabbing the bottle.
Yeah.
And when it runs out, everyone's like, "Oh, it's out."
Oh, is that finished? Have you got another one of those?
Mention how good it was because they wanted to keep it a secret for themselves.
Exactly. I mean, Helen, you know that there are world-class Cabernets all over the world. Even Italy, even Spain. But you got Australia, you got New Zealand now, you got Chile, you got all these places where you can choose to buy Cabernet from.
Yeah.
But I defy anyone to find Cabernet this good at this price in the world right now.
It's funny.
Yeah, because I think so much of it with Cabernet is to do with, tell me if I'm wrong, but it does seem to me it's the soil. Like if it has soil where it's happy, it does its thing.
And it's a really happy place for Cab.
You get the power but with the elegance as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a charm. I
A
mean, there is
charm.
a charm. I mean, it's 1 minute it's smiling at you, and I think it's driving over you like a train.
I might be asking a sidetracky sort of a question. But have you ever heard of a winery in Tuscany called Petrolo?
But I don't know that. I don't know. Have you
No.
come across that?
No, okay.
But there's a lot of Cabernet
it's a
and
really small,
premium.
small place, but we got married there, basically.
Oh, okay.
And we drank
Oh.
a couple of 100 bottles of red wine over the course of a few days. And that just reminded me of it's a really enjoyable wine, but it just reminded me of the sessionability of their wine that we were drinking.
Again, Dean, that shows a really astute palate on your account, because
Yeah.
if you look at where Cabernet tastes different in different places, it's all down to how much sun it gets at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So if you draw lines of equal temperature around the world, what we call isotherms, you'll find that if you drew a line around the Earth through the middle of Tuscany and drew a line around the Earth through the middle of Stellenbosch, they'll be almost exactly the same distance from the equator.
Yeah.
They're the same climate.
And Cabernet
And actually, when I
loves-
talk about South African wines, I do often say very Italian.
I really want to now find out whether or not the Petrolo does Cab Sauv.
Where is it? Where is Petrolo? Where are we?
Were you by the sea, or were you inland?
So, we either flew, we could fly into Florence and then drive down, but they do agriturismo and
agriturismo.
So that we had like 7 different villas on this massive big hill, and some of the
Oh
people
my
that
God,
stayed
it
there
sounds
were, like,
amazing.
David Cameron stayed there, and
Wow.
and what's his Jamie, the chef, Jamie
Oliver?
Yeah.
brought his top chefs there, and they'd hang out there for a week.
Oh,
And they
wow.
had massive pizza ovens in every villa, big
Oh,
pool.
my
It was pretty
God.
amazing.
That's pretty
I'll
sick.
look it up.
I know. I'm going to look that. I'm going to the moment. Oh no! Oh, well, I've just seen the label in my head. I've seen the Petrolo's in big red writing.
It's Petrolo in big bold, and there's the picture of a house, and that's the one we stayed in.
I know the wine. I know the wine.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I think the
But
wine's
that's
in.
figure it out.
such a-
But we're getting sidetracked
there's-
onto Italian wine.
But I think Petrolo is a super Tuscan. I think it's a Cab
Yeah,
Merlot
exactly.
Sangiovese
And
wine.
that's what I was getting to, was you saying that. So in Tuscany, they found that Cabernet loved it in this particular region, just near the coast. Cabernet loved it there, it loved the climate, it loved the soil, and it just produces Cabernet with that same kind of lift to it that we're tasting in this one. And I think sometimes I feel Cabernet it's always put in a box of being a really big grape and making really big wines, and I think it's so much more than that. It's not always like that.
It was kind of ignored for a while. Everyone went off on a thing of we have to drink much more racy, fresher wine. So Australia went on this sort of crusade to make Pinot Noir better, and Cabernet Sauvignon was completely left in the dirt. And I think that South Africa may be the country to lift that baton up and charge with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's good. I like all of these. So now I know I like Cab Sauv quite a bit more than I thought I did.
And here's the thing. I know, Helen, you've been looking forward to trying this last wine. I know all
I'm
week.
so excited about
And which
this
is the
last
reason
wine.
why I put it last. And Dean, Neil Ellis and Warren Ellis are superheroes in South
Getting
Africa.
so excited about this wine has made me excited. I'm excited through osmosis.
And it's called Yonkers Hook Valley, which is near Banghook, where the Telegraph is, which is, I think, the most beautiful view I've ever seen in the world. And Yonkers Hook was where, unfortunately, some of the Franschhoek fires recently, there was bushfires. It licked over in this vineyard, but I think this vineyard survived. Yonkers Hook means Bachelor's Valley.
Okay.
Because, back in the kind of Dutch Afrikaans thing, it was like kind of Amish. The Bachelor's Valley is where all the young men built barns looking to, if I build a big barn, I'll get a much better looking wife. Old school. Okay, now the thing about this area, Yonkers Hook and Banghook, and this tiny portion of Stellenbosch, is the soils are magical. Have a go at this. You'll even see. You'll notice if you compare it to the wine we just had that the other wine's kind of almost red in colour. This has got this piercing crimson vermilion colour, and it shines at you like if you turn the lights out, you could still see it. And this vineyard, believe it or not, is less than 10 years old. This is only the third wine made in this vineyard. So it's like they're 7-year-old vines, tiny little things. But it just shows you that climate and soil is what it's all about, right? And this wine blew me away when I tried it the first time.
That is, so my history with Neil Ellis, Dean, is many years ago when I was a wine buyer at Tesco. I remember the first time I tried a South African Sauvignon Blanc, and this is going back more than 20 years, was from Neil Ellis. So I remember it was sold in Tesco for a while, and it was one of those wines that just stopped me in my tracks because I've never tasted it.
He was the king at it, wasn't he? He was the king.
It was absolutely amazing. But I think those were the days where he started effectively as somebody who just bought grapes in and made wine in rented space in the winery. And now, because he's so good at what he does, or his family, they have one of the most stunning wineries in the area. It is all sustainable, isn't it, Joe? I mean, it's quite an extraordinary.
Super sustainable. It's amazing how seriously they take that. I think when you're given, if you become custodian of a place like the winelands in South Africa or the backlands of somewhere like Australia or New Zealand, when you're given custody of a place like that, it's a hell of a lot easier to go, let's not mess with this.
Yeah.
You go to somewhere like France, where after the Second World War, they weren't making explosives anymore. So all the chemical companies were going to all the best producers in Burgundy and Bordeaux going, here's fertilizer for free. We don't know what to do with it. And it killed the land. So the reversal of that process is a very hard thing to do. But with our awareness of the ecological state of the world right now, you've got a place like somewhere like South Africa, it's just wonderful to see that a 4-year-old child wouldn't dare drop a piece of paper on the ground. And it's like, it feels good. It feels great, you know? Nice. And I've been looking forward to trying this.
What do you think, Dean? What do you think of this one?
It smells amazing.
So pure. So pure.
There's not one thing that jumps out either. It's like a plethora of different flavours.
This is his flagship wine. And in the UK, I think would probably cost... I don't think there's any change out of £50 for this wine. So we're talking... I mean, in terms of my life, I wouldn't spend more than this on a bottle of wine unless I had a bloody good reason. But I would probably go this hard on Christmas Day or something like that.
And
the thing about this wine is you can sip it in tiny sips and it lasts all flipping day. And every sip was better than the last sip because it needs air. And it's like, have a taste of this, Dino.
So I did, Joe, a trick that you taught me years ago. I did the speed decanting on this in my trusty mixing jug. Because when I first opened this one, it was quite closed.
It was like a padlock when I first opened it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous though. There's so much going on, and even in the 20 minutes you might have wine in your glass. Even in the 10 minutes it might be in your glass. If you sit doing this, it will change as you taste it.
It's got a I don't want to say acidity, but the fruitiness has like a fresh zing to it that like gives it life.
There's a freshness.
The other ones didn't quite have. It's like
this is coming from a vintage where you could fry eggs on the street. I mean, it was. But it's the definition and freshness of the fruit, the focus and vivid freshness of the fruit, and the one thing that they always talk about at this estate and Delagraph in Bangkok next door is porcelain denins. They talk about denins. They're like porcelain. It's got this bone china dustiness. The tannins are like talc. There's something. So soft and detailed. This wine will be fine. In fact, it'll be better in maybe 20 years' time. I think 25, 30 years' time. This is the kind of wine that will be brilliant 3 decades old. And we're drinking it now and we're enjoying it. We're not going, this is going to be good. We're going, give me another mouthful. And that's those fine bone tannins, man. The softness.
I think it's like I know it's probably I know it's definitely different grape and a completely different thing, but like, I go to Italy a lot. My wife's half Italian, and we drink a lot of wine when we go to Italy. And my wife's father's from Asti,
Okay. I
And-
love
I
that.
love
by the way.
that.
I love Asti.
So like we drink a lot of Barbera d'Asti and stuff like that. But like the first time I went to Barolo, obviously Barolo Chinato, like in cocktails, is like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
So you know Negronis, right?
Yeah, very well.
So
what's your show?
a Boulevardier is a whiskey Negroni.
Yeah.
But a Barolo Vardier, you take the vermouth out and you put Barolo Chinato in it. So
No!
I love Barolo. But for me, that tasted like that step up from, you know,
There's just more to it, isn't there?
And when this
Vino
is all
Chinato to
over,
Barolo Chinato.
Yeah.
when this is
It
all
has-
over, can I come to the shed for a Barolo
Yeah,
Vardy?
100%.
If you go back through Dean Callan's shows on Facebook, he did a show where he made a Barolo Canarone, whatever you call it. I can't really call it.
Barolo Vardier.
Barolo Vardier, and I've been hankering after one ever since. But what a lineup of wines, right? If you're only going to remember one thing, which is Cabernet Sauvignon South Africa,
Yeah.
spend more than a tenner, just swing a leg and have it. Just take a chance.
It's so good.
You go into Marks and Spencer's and buy their Helderberg Cabernet Sauvignon 2019.
It's amazing.
It's ipping gorgeous wine, and this is what we're talking about. I don't think it's very hard to find more value and more material actual wine in a glass for your money than this. And
Yeah.
and I know that Helen likes this kind of wine, so I was thrilled that we got to share these
Well, thank
wines
you.
with you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for setting me up for the most fantastic weekend, because I now have.
So how many people are coming round? Are you just gonna sit in the cupboard with some Comté and a torch
Well, I
and
have to
4
say,
bottles
I'm
of
going
wine?
to have to save it. I'm going to have to save it because I'm on Saturday Kitchen tomorrow morning.
Oh, you are,
and,
of course.
And
Oh, wow.
and I'm on Sunday as well, actually. So
Gosh.
I'm going to. Yeah, so it might just be one really nice glass of red for me tomorrow.
Darling Helen, you know the Neil Ellis will taste better in 2 days' time. So just put that away.
Yeah.
I would
absolutely.
probably drink the museum release Nita Book because I've got a feeling that might fall over overnight because it's starting to get quite complex and delicate.
And the rest will last.
The others will be fine. But I think the Neil Ellis that needs to be sitting on the naughty step for at least 2 days for it comes down.
Can I just say, well, first of all, I've so enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Just been a really lovely way to spend an hour to drink these wines with you. And honestly, to come and I know I'm not actually in the shed yet, but I feel I'm getting there. Like I've now got it in my head. I'm coming there for a Barolo Vardier, and I'll look forward to it.
100% welcome to come.
And you're so generous of heart and so generous with your time. I just rang you up and I said, look, there's no money in or anything, but I can make sure you get pissed in style one night. Would you come on Dean Callan Show? And you didn't hesitate, which was so lovely of you. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
I know you're a big cheese these days, so we feel very, 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 very fortunate to have you on the show.
One last thing I must just tell Dean before I go, which is the man who popped my pink Chihuahua cherry is in the shed with you now, Dean.
Oh yes, I took
The
Helen
man
to
who what?
popped her pink Chihuahua cherry because the wine trade doesn't mix with the cocktail scene, right? And we'd been out somewhere. Where had we been? And I said, come and have a drink with me. Dick was still alive. Dick was still alive, and Dick made her a pink Chihuahua. And I explained to her, and she was like, "Where am I? This is like another planet." and three drinks later, Helen's standing on a table singing Mexican theme songs.
So for me, it's really crazy because obviously, it's hard to describe. Dick Bradshaw is an absolute legend to me. And here, right, I've got these 3 little caricatures. So this is Gary Regan. This is Dale DeGroff.
They passed away
Dick
very
Bradshaw,
recently.
right? They're not. One of them is actually like an actual bobblehead made to look exactly like Gaz, and the other 2 are just figurines that kind of resemble the guys. But my plan when I open up my own real bar is to have those 3 in brass, as if it's like Star Wars. The way you've got Yoda overlooking, because they were my heroes. That I followed their styles. And Dick Bradshaw, remember I told you about the Boulevardier and Barolo Vardier?
Yeah.
I walk in to meet Dick Bradshaw and sit down at his bar, right? And I met him a couple of times before, but there's no one else in the place. And I sat down at his bar, and at the time I was a global brand ambassador for Monkey Shoulder Whiskey, right? So my job is to try to get influential people to use our spirit and whatever. Sit down, and I asked him for a Boulevardier. And I don't know if he was joking or not, but he was kind of like, I don't know, mate, if you know the ingredients. And I was like, yeah, it's like a Negroni, but with bourbon or whiskey instead. But like, I work for Monkey Shoulder, so if you can make it with Monkey Shoulder, that'd be great. So, equal parts, Monkey Shoulder, sweet vermouth, Campari, stirred it, taste it. He's like, this is tasty. I might put that on the menu. Right, so in London, to get someone well-known to put a cocktail on their menu might cost you a couple of £1,000.
Was that Dick's bar?
At least, you know, and Dick Bradshaw, you're thinking it's going to cost £10,000 to get listed on his menu. And I didn't take it seriously. A couple of weeks I went back in, and he had it on the menu.
Oh.
Wow. You know, just put it on.
He was an extraordinary
He
human
was
being.
special. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
As his daughter is now. Beatrice, if you're watching this, lots of love.
For you to have got to meet him was really cool, because it's one of those things. It's like the only person I met in wine that blew my mind was Len Evans. I met him
amazing.
and I was bartending at a wine feast.
Go figure, Len Evans. I mean, he's like...
And he got along with me really well. For some reason, he hit it off, and he started like, you know, he gave me tips on wine, but basically said, just drink table wine.
In the wine world, in the wine world, for those people watching, Len Evans is as famous as Ernest Hemingway was in the literary scene.
Yeah.
Incredible polymath.
Right.
He created the Australian wine industry.
Yeah, just drink it and enjoy it. I'll drink to that.
Yeah, he was amazing. Yeah, cheers.
So I was invited to Len's house with my mother and father for Sunday lunch.
Oh, nice.
He said,
cheers,
Joe, do you want to go down to my cellar and pick a wine for lunch? I was like, what are we having? And he said, I'll show you. And he goes to opens the freezer. And he said, we're having Flossie. And they get 4 pet sheep a year, lambs. And at the end of the year, the kids get used to it. They slaughter them, they put them into the freezer. And they're labelled up by the name they gave the lamb. So we had leg of Flossie with 1970 Ducru Beaucaillou.
Oh, now you're showing off.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds special.
It's a spastically expensive wine. But my birthday year as well. Listen, look, Helen, what can I say?
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much. And know that you have a new follower in the Knackered Mothers Club. Although I'm not a mother, I will be feeding the right wines to a knackered mother. Including
Very good.
At least one of these.
She was working so hard. She deserves it.
She worked really hard. So.
And Emma and I are coming to Bewley sometime very soon. I'm sure I know Emma's listening, so we'll come and see you in your beautiful your beautiful house.
And anytime you're in Dulwich, so this is in Dulwich, come say hello.
I'm coming to that birthday.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget, we've got a sponsor.
Yeah, I'm going to close out with
Good man.
Okay.
Oh, isn't this amazing? If you can see how tiny this place is, it feels like the American bar in the Savoy.
I was setting this up so that you might have missed it, but I was going to go through and find the prices of the different wines. So I think we could it's really crazy because the journey we've been on with these wines. Like I feel like elevated by it.
But that isn't that the whole 100% point?
So
isn't that the point? I mean, when you give me drink, when you made me that Cosmopolitan Delight the week before last, that elevated me. Trying the Fino Colada for the first time elevated me. It's about creating magic and opening your parameters to drinks.
It's just like I want to do a little like Have you got them in the right
I'm
order?
good. I've got them in the right order. I'm good though.
I want to revisit this. So I'm going to revisit these for a second, and then we'll play a little word from our sponsor. I'll come back. I'll put these up on the screen so that you can take note of what they are, and then we'll sign out for the night. And here is a word from our sponsor.
Convention South Africa is proud to be involved in Veritas as the sponsor of the Veritas Award given to the top wine of this prestige competition. On behalf of everybody at Conventions, I want to wish each one who is involved a blessed 2021, and I hope you will have a fantastic tasting in London. Thank you.
It's not quite quick enough. It was short and sharp and to the point. That
yeah, he doesn't mess about.
Yeah, he doesn't mess
Mr.
about.
Conradi doesn't mess about.
All right.
God, I mean, I think that last one. If I'm picking out, but I'm just picking one myself. If that last one is one of the best, is definitely one of the 5 best wines I've drunk all year. I think.
Oh.
I mean, this is elevated stuff. Have you seen how much the first one's changed?
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? It smells like licorice now. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's gotten darker. Like, do you know I was blonde when I was born? Until I was like
No.
5 or 6.
You'll be telling me you were blue-eyed as well.
No.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
You don't have. The point is, you don't have to have a favourite. We don't have a favourite whiskey, do we? But do you have a favourite?
I just wanted to taste them all against each other. And thank everyone for coming, getting on board. Check out the Veritas Vino Veritas app if you want to find out what all these wines are. As you might have seen earlier on, you can break it down by category. And I just want to say thank you so much to our sponsors that have helped us out. From the Veritas Awards.
Elsa Bay, Benny, Christo, all the people involved at Veritas, including our Vinventure sponsors. We couldn't have done this without you. You've made a lot of people very happy. Well, you've made 2 people very happy. But you've introduced, I think, incredible wines to a very wine-hungry audience. So thank you very much, gentlemen, ladies.
Thank you all so much. And yeah, that's us. Have a nice weekend.